Good to have you. And in fact, the picture the energy minister is painting is quite scary. What I want to find out is what really is the issue with the energy sector that every day we hear new figures of debt. What is the problem as you see it?
Okay, so I mean, I've listened to the minister, and I am not too sure about all the things that he's talking about, especially when the amount of money he's quoting as the money required to procure liquid fuels. And I'm also a little bit surprised that the minister is saying that the cost of buying the fuel is not part of the tariffs. I'm not too sure whether that is entirely accurate, but I will come back to that.
Right.
The problem is this. You know, when you produce electricity, there are various cost centers, and that ultimately goes in to determine the tariff that end users are supposed to pay. The PURC, when they are setting their tariffs, they allow for what they call regulatory losses, which for some time now is hovering around 21%. And then they cost everything, and they say that we expect the distribution utilities, who are the off-takers of the power that the IPPs are producing, to collect minimum 98% of the energy or electricity that they will procure and bill and sell, 98%. So it's only 2% that is allowed as non-collectible. So if you are unable to collect all that 98%, it means that tariff is not covering that. But what tariff is covering includes the fuel. The only problem here is that if you look at the energy outlook that was prepared by the Energy Commission, and that report is on the Energy Commission's website, so you can always check. The projected cost of procuring fuel for 2025 is around 1.2 billion US dollars. But the bulk of that, about 97% of that, is supposed to come from natural gas. Okay. So I believe what the minister is saying and what he's saying is not being covered by the tariffs is the fact that everything has been, the projection is that we're going to use gas. Predominantly for a very long time, gas has been the favored fuel because it's cheaper than crude. I believe what he's talking about is the fact that they would have used natural gas to price, but we're required to get some liquid fuels.
Right.
There's always a price differential, but that's why the PURC do quarterly adjustments. In the next window, they take all of these things into consideration, including whether or not more hydro than projected was generated or not. So it's not entirely true. But the problem that we have is that for a very long time, we are unable to account for all the power that ECG, for example, will procure. It's the same with NETCO.
Right.
So whenever that happens, it means that you are not in a position to be able to go and pay for the fuel, that the invoices that are given to you. And the problem is further complicated when, as we know, the Atuabo plant is having a challenge because whereas in that instance, we get to use the fuel on credit and sometimes not even pay for it. That's how come GMP, Ghana Gas, is being owed a lot of money. But when it comes to liquid fuel, nobody is selling it to you on credit. So anytime we have a gas shortage problem, then government needs to find money because ECG doesn't have the money, or neither does any of the power producers. So that's the problem that we have. Not only are we having losses, but we are also not able to collect enough to be able to pay for all the costs. But the amount of money that I believe the minister is quoting, maybe they need to check the numbers again because it's way, way, way above what has been estimated in the 2025 energy outlook. But there is a problem. And everybody knew that there's always a problem. And if the minister is telling us today that we have only 2.5 days of liquid fuel supply, I mean, I would accept that when he first came in and there was a looming crisis, but everybody had known that we need to get some stock. So it's not enough to say that we have only 2.5 days, because at least it's been there for more than a month.
Right.
And it's long enough for him to be able to arrange for fuel to come in.